That was a great idea. Go for it.
Go for it. So tell me the story you just told me about your teacher that told you you'd never be a teletype operator.
Can I interrupt a second? This is Louise Jackson. She is 98 years old today. Today is July 27th, 2021. And these are some of Louise's stories. Or Grandma, tell me about. Go ahead, Louise.
Holly, my first granddaughter, who I adore. She's my favorite granddaughter. Don't tell anybody else.
Okay, we won't tell anyone.
You'll have to speak up, Louise.
Because whoever's with me, they're my favorite at the time.
Yeah.
But I would tell these stories to Holly, and she would come to me and say, Grandma, tell me about, and then she'd tell me what story she wanted. So I would start and tell her. But I'm going to start from one of the first things I remember.
Perfect.
I'll
So
tell
Holly,
how
your
to
granddaughter.
spell it, whatever. I was always an early riser, and Mom found me outside one morning. She said, "What are you doing?" Well, there was a duck sitting on eggs underneath our back steps, and I was talking to the duck. I talked to chickens also, and as I was talking to the duck, this egg rolled out, and it tap, 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 pick, 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 and I'm watching it. Pretty soon, the hole got bigger, and there was a little duckling coming out, black as ink, wet as everything. And he rolled out, and I picked him up, and he got fluffy. So she came down. She said, "Louise, what are you doing?" I said, "I'm watching the duckies hatch." Well, that's one of my.
Yeah, how old were you?
I don't know.
Little.
3 or 4.
Yeah, real little.
Real
And you got a
little.
black duckling?
Yeah,
It
good.
turned out to be a black one?
No, he disappeared. I don't know
Oh.
what happened to him, but all the other ones were yellow.
Oh.
But I had fun playing with them.
Yeah. It was,
And Mom would get me up. This was early in the morning when there was still dew on the ground and still kind of cool outside. And we'd go berry picking. That was out along the edge of our woods out in the back.
in what state?
Oh, this was in Marne, Michigan.
Marne, Michigan. Okay.
Yep,
Berry picking.
berry picking. And she would say, "You pick underneath, and I'll pick on the top. Only pick the big ones. And if you smell a cucumber, stand still and call me." Copperhead.
Oh, a snake.
Yeah,
Wow.
I never smelled one.
Okay, well, that's probably a good thing.
I think so too.
Yeah.
Well, anyhow, this one day we were out, and we had carousel buckets of, the carousel came in buckets,
Huh.
and we had those tied around our waist so our hands were free to pick, and then we taken them empty it into a milk bag, pail. So we're picking. Mom said, "This will be our last one, and then we'll go home," because she said, "The sun's up and it's getting a little bit brighter. The mist is lifting, and they're going to see us."
Oh, you weren't supposed to be there.
No. We would come down our lane,
Yeah.
go into the woods, and we circle around that field and go back down the other side. We could hear the other pickers coming out.
Yeah, the what? Yeah.
Yeah, so this will be our last bucket. So we went to pick up our bucket, and there's this black bear. Head in the bucket, just making them sounds like, "Oh boy, this is so good. I've died and gone to heaven."
Yeah.
We left him and went around.
Oh.
But anyhow, they were saying, "Marie, aren't you going picking this year?" And everybody was saying, "I wonder where the berries are. There aren't so many big ones, they're all little ones." And she said, "Well, no, I've got 65 quarts put up already."
Oh man. Yeah, you don't want to meet up with the bear out there.
Oh, no.
At least he was distracted.
He wasn't paying any attention to us at all. He thought we picked him just for him or her, whatever it
Yeah.
was.
Well, I'm glad you made it through that one.
Yeah. And then Holly got a paddling. And I'd only been telling her good stories.
Yeah.
I never told her about the times I got paddled. So, I'm an imitator. Anything people do, I try to do too. So I watched my mother cutting hair. okay, I can do that. I got my little chair. I got a towel to put around my sister's shoulders. Went out by the ditch. Cut off her pretty yellow curls. Mom never came home by the driveway. She always jumped the ditch over to the other end.
Yeah.
This time she came in and she says, "Who's been cutting hair?" And I said, "I don't know." And then she saw Lizetta and I got paddled.
Yeah. Well, did the hair look bad or it looked okay?
No.
No, it was terrible. Yeah.
It didn't look really good at all.
Yeah, that's usually what happens when kids get a hold of scissors.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
when I was in kindergarten or first grade, I don't remember which,
Yeah.
they were vaccinating for diphtheria.
Okay.
And I happened to be down where I could see what they were doing. Well, they had this little bottle that they put cotton in and rubbed it on your arm and put it down. Then they had this other bottle that was a long needle and they rubbed it. They didn't inject it, they just kind of scraped it over the top.
Okay.
Then they put a tape over it. Okay. I got my little table and chairs and took them over to the cow pasture across from us. It was in an orchard. I had my little bottle, I had my pin. There's a puddle of water, I got my water.
Giving vaccinations.
And I vaccinated Gladys. She cried. Her mother came down, grabbed the table, grabbed me by the arm. I had the chair, took me home, and I got the back of the hairbrush. I got it again.
Yeah, well, at least you were an interesting child, you know. You kept people entertained, and you know, I was the same way. I did a lot of neat and funny stuff, and I got to paddle a lot too. We had these spoons, these big wooden spoons that would hang on the
Mom had a
kitchen. Thimble.
Thimble, like you put it on your
Yeah,
finger.
yeah.
when you're sewing. You know what a thimble
Oh,
is.
and you get
Yeah,
tapped
for
with
sewing?
it? Yeah.
Okay. I would be making noise and Mom would tell me to be quiet. I'd be quiet for a little while.
No, because I just had the loan, and that was it, and I didn't have any other.
I'd forget and start making whatever I was doing, and she'd tell me again. If she told me the third time, she told me it was a thump on my head with a thimble.
Yeah.
That hurts.
Oh, I've gotten that before too. My grandma's given me that too.
Yeah, you
'Cause,
know.
Yeah,
you know
she'd
what
be
it feels
sewing
like.
and I'd be running around.
Well,
Yep.
that lasted for a while. And then I got the hairbrush again.
I never got those spoons. They were about this big, and I was always threatened with them. She'd use the little spoon for mixing
Yeah.
and get me with it, but I never was bad enough to get the big spoon.
My switch for the kids was a fly swatter.
No.
I didn't have to use it on Dana. He was a good kid.
Yeah.
But when Kevin, he never ever prepared me for Kevin. Never.
They're all different.
You better believe it. And I don't believe in spanking children.
Yeah.
But he had bare legs, and I took that fly swatter. It was mesh.
Yeah.
Once looked like that. Well, he had his two boys with him one time, reached up on top of the refrigerator. He said, "Oh, it's still there." And they said, "What is, Daddy?" And he showed him, "It's just a fly swatter." Well, I had to demonstrate.
Yeah, it's not just a fly swatter.
And he said, I would do anything to keep from getting switched with that. Just one little switch.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now, this is a story. You have to take this as true.
Okay.
We were playing in the side yard. It was a long side yard, and playing ball or something or other. And we wanted a drink of water, so we came around the front of the house, over to where the well was, and they were pumping water. Well, there's boards on the well. And I thought, if these boards broke, I'd go right down that well. Well, the next thing I knew, those boards broke, and I'm going down the well, and they're yelling, "Get her out, get her out, get her out." And then I woke up, and I was falling out of bed. I could still hear somebody yelling, "Get it out, get it out, get it out." There's my mother and brother out in the garden. My brother's jumping around like crazy. My mother's doubled over laughing, and I really had to go out and find out what was happening.
Yeah.
Well, she was weeding, and he was gathering up the weeds and taking them to the pigsty. Well, he was wearing bib overalls with nothing on underneath. Well, this last bunch of weeds he picked up had a toad in, and it went down the front, got tangled, and it was trying to get out, and he's trying to jump it out.
And that's amazing that you remembered your dream. You too. Your dream
It
woke you. Yeah.
just went right into it.
Yeah. Get it out. Get it out. Woo.
I asked him years later, do you remember that? He said, boy, do I remember that. I thought I was going to lose the family jewels.
The toad in the. Yeah. You never know. Jumping around. They're both jumping around. One's inside.
The
his
toad
other.
wanted it out, and he wanted it out.
Yeah. Yeah. What was his name?
It was John, but we called him Bud.
Bud. Okay.
Uncle Bud.
All right. Right on.
Ask Tommy about Uncle Bud.
Uncle Bud.
Tammy, I should say.
Tammy. Okay.
She always called him Uncle Bud.
Yeah, well, that sounds like something she would say. Uncle Bud.
Well, we were swimming one time, and I was talking to some boys, and they had never heard of Rudyard Kipling and never heard of the jungle. I said, what do you want? What's the matter? He said, I lost my trunks. I said, you what? What did you have on? He said, you gotta find them. Well, my sister had this two-piece suit, and I had looked for the trunks, and all I could find was a bra. He had those trunks on, and when he went off the diving board, the trunks left.
And then he couldn't find him.
He couldn't find them. So you gotta go find them, Lou. I can't get out of here. I should let you stay in. Oh, Lou, please go find them. Go find them. You will never know how many white spots are on the bottom of a 10-foot pool.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Well, I finally
And
found
kept
them.
going down till you
Yeah.
found him?
Surface diving the whole time.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
At least you found him.
I found them.
Someone keeps calling the phone. Good times.
During the war.
Was that World War One or
World War II.
World War Two? Yeah, 1920s or 1940s. 1940s. Yeah.
End of the 30s, into the 40s.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. We were asked to limit the calls. They had, on long distance, also run the big switchboards.
Yeah.
And my first day at the board, taking live calls, I broke in after 3 minutes and told him, please limit your call. He said, get the hell off the line, operator. I started to cry. And I had this big horn on my chest, and you talked to the real antique kind.
Yeah.
It was a board and then the speaker.
Speaker, yeah.
Where you spoke into a real heavy earphone. And after that, my supervisor came up, Miss Breeler, what's the matter? I said, he swore at me. He swore at me. You'll get used to it. For the rest of the day, if I had to limit a call, I turned my head.
So you wouldn't cry into the thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a time that's just so different from now. You know?
It is absolutely different from
and
now.
they had to limit the calls to 3 minutes so it wouldn't make congestion on the lines.
You fought for every circuit.
Okay.
You fought. My time is, I have a priority 1, I have a priority 2, or priority 3.
Yeah.
1 was you dropped everything and put that call through.
Yeah, like the president or something like that.
Yeah.
And,
It's like when I was in the teletype office room. I would sit at the end of the other boards and I could work both places. I was working on a Sunday morning, and if you had an FBI call on your printer, you didn't take any other calls. So I had an FBI conference call come through. 33 stations. It took a long time for them all to get on together.
wow.
So that machine was working by itself. I worked on the next one so I could keep track.
Yeah.
I couldn't talk about it then, but I can talk about it now. Because I couldn't talk about things that I heard.
Yeah, but it's been so long now that it doesn't matter. It's,
Yeah, or who I talked to
Yeah,
and things
yeah.
like that. But they had caught a Jewish man down in New Orleans selling munitions to the Germans. And after what they were doing to the Jewish,
Yeah.
hmm
They didn't want that to get out. Yeah.
and
Yeah.
money, you know.
Yeah. Yeah, that's and that was in the 1930s, 40s.
Yeah.
Okay. And then yeah, I couldn't imagine running all those and memorizing where each one goes.
Oh yeah, I was. What?
And then you had to read the ticker at the same time to kind of.
Well, you had to read the ticker. You answered a call.
Yeah.
And you type CV, which was Cleveland.
Okay.
And then they'd tell you what you wanted. You take your other cord and test the line. And if it's busy, you type BY. And she would say, hold.
Oh, so you were communicating to other operators on the teletype.
Yeah.
Okay.
Just like I do when I was on the board talking to other operators.
Yeah. But that's a long distance thing.
Yeah, I could put up straight calls. I could put up calls to other cities. I could route them through other cities. They called them TYC.
Okay.
Say that they were calling Lebanon.
Yeah.
Lebanon would probably be the toll center either for Lexington or for Louisville. And I'd have to call them first to go get to Lebanon.
And they'd plug you into Lebanon.
Yeah, and then when I got plugged into Lebanon, then I asked for the number I wanted.
And the operator would connect you if they were there.
Yeah,
Then they would
and
connect you. Or they'd say no answer.
People would answer, and I said, go ahead.
Okay.
Then you had to wait for a few minutes to make sure that the communication was going, then you cut out.
You were the first computer, really. Like one of the first computers.
It was, really?
Essentially.
Yeah,
you were
it
doing
was-
the job of the computer.
And when I told people I was a teletype operator, they didn't have the faintest idea what I was talking
I
about.
didn't either until now I get it.
Really?
You were essentially one of the first computers that was routing information.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, just like the telephone.
Yeah.
We always liked it when the Palace Theater got out because all the stars were down there and they started calling home. I've talked to Jimmy Stewart, Bob Hope, Bing Crosby, oh crickets, Wendell Willkie. He ran for president at one time and
Okay.
I cut him off.
Ah.
I had to call back and he said, operator, things like that happen, don't worry. I said, I am so sorry, Mr. Willkie, you know. He was the nicest guy.
Yeah.
I've talked to President Truman. I had President Roosevelt talk to me in person. This was in Cleveland, 1933. I know that it was that year because that's the year I turned 10.
Okay.
And Daddy said, come on, the president's coming down Euclid Avenue. We were the only two people standing there, and he always rode in an open car, and he wouldn't let his drivers go faster than 35 miles an hour. Well, he was doing about 25 in Cleveland.
Okay.
Daddy's here, and I'm there. There he sat, looked just like he did in the newsreels. With, you know, the fedora, the long, the pince-nez on his nose, and the long cigarette holder.
Yeah.
He ignored my father, and he said, hello, little girl, and I went... So who else can say the president's talked to them?
No, not me.
That was just happenstance.
Yeah, and it's great that they, you know, he looked exactly like he did in the kind of...
In the newsroom,
Yeah.
we didn't have a radio. We didn't have a telephone. We did have electric in Cleveland.
Okay.
And the first decoration day, which we call Memorial Day now, we went to the cemetery, and they had a big program there. And I actually saw veterans from the Civil War sitting on their horses.
The Civil War.
From the Civil War. I didn't realize then what I was seeing.
Yeah, yeah.
But
Veterans from the Civil War.
Yeah,
The 1800s.
yeah.
Wow.
And it was 1933. There was 6, 7 of them.
Yeah.
In their blue uniforms.
On horses.
Sitting on
'Cause
their
that's
horses.
what they had back then.
And when they gave the 21 guns to Luke,
Yeah.
it scared me half to death.
Yeah.
My brother was scrambling for shells.
Yeah.
Well, the next year there was some on horses and some in limos.
Mm-hmm.
The following year there was one in a limo.
Mm.
After that, none.
Mm.
But to think that I actually saw people
Civil
who
War.
were alive
Yeah.
when Lincoln was alive.
Yeah. And fought.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
You know, I didn't know what it was all about then, but
you still remember it now, and that's.
I remember
yeah.
it, yeah. And about 10 years ago.
Michigan. My daddy.
He was born in Michigan, yeah.
Yeah.
I was born in Cleveland. And went back for him to be born.
And what was his name?
Victor.
Victor.
No. Oh no.
Her daddy.
Bud came next.
Ah. Yeah.
And you said, how do you say Bud? Uncle Bud.
Uncle Bud.
Uncle Bud.
Uncle Bud.
She said Uncle Bud earlier, and I just said that sounds like Tammy. And yeah, she's like, yeah.
And
She calls him.
then my sister Lizetta, and then her
Which
dad,
was lasagna.
and then my brother Georgie, and my sister and I were in the bedroom. November when Georgie was born, and my sister kept yelling. They said, "Don't you dare open that door!" I knew better than to do anything. My sisters kept saying, "Stop killing my mother!
Oh no.
Stop killing my mother!" And Mr. and Mrs. Heath came down to help, and the doctor was there. My father got the doctor drunk. Mrs. Heath was going to help. She fainted dead away, and Mr. Heath delivered the baby.
Wow. Wow.
Drunk.
And what year do you think that was?
Georgie?
1925 or
No,
something?
no. In the 30s.
30s? Okay.
Yeah. We came to Cleveland in 32, and he was just starting to walk, so he was probably born in 33.
Hmm.
He could have been born November of 32. No, been November of 33, and then come to yeah,
I was trying to
November.
think of how old my daddy would have been. Let's see here. He was 55 in 1986. I don't even know how to start to calculate that.
No. It's easy with Louise because it's
In 86?
He was 86. He was 55 and 86.
Was it just subtract 55 from
Yeah,
86?
Okay, all right. So he was born in 31. And then Georgie was
Oh,
born.
that's okay. Yeah, it had to be 28. I was outside playing 1928. I was outside playing in the front yard, and the kid who lived on the farm just west of us, Howie, came walking up the hill. I said, "Where are you going, Howie?" "School." "Can I come?" "I don't care." So off I went. Mom didn't know where I was. I went to school. There was a man teacher, and he was there for a short time. And then we had a lady teacher, and she came in on a train. We went down to the tracks and waited for her. The train slowed down. She jumped off. Come time for her school to end, we all went down, all 47 of us, went down to see her get on the train. It never stopped, just slowed down. He grabbed her hand, yanked her up on the train. We had her for a while. And Miss Nelson was my teacher from then on until I left.
How she remembers all this.
Yeah,
beyond me.
well, I have a pretty good memory too of some of my teachers, Miss Munson and Miss Carson. I gave them a hard time. Oh, I gave them a hard time. I got in trouble a lot. But
I loved riding the rope for the bell. I had to
Ding,
jump up.
ding.
I had to jump up on the stand,
yeah,
a bench, then jump up and reach the bell rope, and grab it and come pull it down. Then I ride up with it. It was like flying. I could have rung that bell all day.
yeah. What'd they ring the bell for? Lunchtime or?
When lunchtime was over.
Okay, and
yeah.
to come running back in.
Yeah, and if we had recess, then somebody had to ring the bell and bring you back there.
Bring you back in.
That was one of my favorite jobs.
Yeah.
And one time, our school was on a little hill, and our outhouses were down at the bottom. And I went running down that real fast, and usually the door is stuck. I hit the door and it wound open real quick. and I hit my head on the
Toilet thing, yeah.
Here. I came to on the teacher's desk. They were putting silver knives on my head to keep the swelling down.
Ah,
Hello. I was outside standing in the fan melting, talking to Harold.
don't go near the barbecue.
I know.
It smells good,
Is
but
that
oh,
still-
it's warm.
And I saw a bunny when I was standing out there.
Here, I'll turn it off.
I wrote the stories down for Holly for Christmas. And she would say to her little girlfriends, come on in the bedroom, I want you to read something. I don't want to read. Oh, come on, come on. And Ruthie said, the next thing you hear, all this laughter coming from the bedroom. And then her teacher found out I was coming down. And she wanted to know if I'd talk to them. So I tried to write it down. I couldn't do it.
Yeah.
So I stopped at one of the maple syrup stands out in Burton and got some maple syrup and sugar candy. Took it down to them. And then Kevin's first wife was with me. They lived down in Texas also. We took a little bowl and I could dump the syrup in. And then I cut cubes of bread, stuck toothpicks in it. Kids could eat it.
Yeah, yeah.
They did not believe it came from a tree.
That's pure sugar, though. That's good
Oh,
stuff.
I grew up on that.
Yeah.
I never had our ice cream was sugar time
Yeah.
when there was snow on the ground.
Yeah.
We knew, keep that snow clean. You find a big drifter.
Yeah.
Don't get anybody near it, because once it got to a certain consistency, they came out and made snow cream for us.
Oh.
Ooh, there's nothing like snow cream.
Ooh. There's nothing like homemade ice cream either. I was just thinking about that.
I had never
With the-
had ice cream.
Yeah, well, and then you got snow cream.
And Mom tried making snow cream in town, but it wasn't the same because she was using Karo syrup.
Oh.
It wasn't the same.
I lived in a big house with a bunch of people, probably 20. My dad had 11 brothers and sisters. And at one time, we pretty much all lived together in Oxnard, California. And we had this Eagle brand milk. You know
Yeah.
about Eagle brand? Real sweet. And it was a
Yeah.
can. And they'd pop the top on that, and everybody passed that around. And that would last for a little while. And then that's how we got our sugar.
Are we still?
Yeah, oh yeah, go
Okay.
ahead.
I forgot what I was going to say.
Something about sugar, probably, or sweets.
Huh?
Sweets? Something about sweets?
Well, I'll never forget the first ice cream I did have. They made it in a little can, you know?
Yeah.
You would let me have a little scoop. I fell in love with it immediately.
Was it a hot day, do you remember? Or it was just a
It was a
regular?
warm day. We were
Yeah.
playing outside.
Yeah.
Oh. We had a little Scotty dog.
Terrier?
A terrier.
Yeah,
really.
a little terrier, yeah.
Like a black and white terrier.
Yeah.
And we play games with them. We've been to movies and we've seen what they do in Africa, you know. So we say, you're a mad lion, and he'd go, you know, bang, you're dead, and he'd flop over dead. And then we'd take and tie his paws together, put them on a string, put them on a pole, and walk away with them.
Yeah.
We were doing this in the front yard, and this guy in the car stopped, went up and knocked on the door, and said, do you allow your children to torture that dog like that? And my dad said, I'm not torturing the dog.
Yeah.
Well, it sure looks like it. Look at its face. We had to go through the whole thing. And the dog's on there.
Doing every single thing, yeah.
I've never seen anything like that.
Yeah.
And another time, I had a cat, and I always carried the cats around my neck. And Mom had a little fruit stand by the drive, and this woman in a real big shiny car came up. And of course, I walked over to see what was going on, you know. And she said to my mother, what kind of a mother are you, allowing your daughter to play with a dead cat? My mother said, the cat's not dead. I've never seen a cat do anything like that before in my life. Louise, put the cat down. I put the cat down. The cat turned right around, jumped up, butt. And she, I've never seen anything like it. That cat and that dog went with us every place.
Yeah.
even when we went down to Zudik's to go swimming, that's was a nice swimming pool in there. Yeah.
And the cat went with you too?
Cat went in the water with us.
Wow. What color was it?
He was kind of a tiger stripe.
Oh,
Not
okay.
not the gray one, but the
Yeah, the orange and white ones?
orange and white and black, mostly all of them.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I had a good cat for a while, but she wouldn't go. Well, she did let me put her in the water a little bit, but
We didn't put her in. She came
just
right
went
with
in.
us.
Well, maybe she thought she was a dog.
Yeah.
Sometimes they do.
Yeah, I guess she did because when she got tired walking, she just jumped up around my neck.
Yeah. My cat would sit up here too. When we went to the vet, my cat would sit on my shoulder
Uh-huh.
and would just look at other. And just was upset. She didn't want to be at the vet. And
Yeah.
sometimes she'd hiss at other animals, and people would get upset and they'd say, you know, you need a cage for that cat. I go, I'm not putting the cat in a cage. It's harder to get her in the cage. She's
Yeah.
fine. Well, she's gonna run away and jump off you and run away. No, she's not. This is my cat. You know, she ain't gonna go nowhere.
We had a cat and dog, and they ate together, they slept together, and they tormented each other.
Oh
They
yeah.
would.
I
I have to tell you this one. We were living on Minnie in Cleveland. Our house was teeny tiny, and we had open stairs part way up, and the piano was sitting across that. And this cat would come. If the pictures were standing up, she'd flip the pictures over. And then she'd land on the keys, the bass keys and keyboard. And she'd jump. Yeah.
Yeah.
And she'd jump from the piano to a chair, from a chair to another chair in the dining room. I saw rooms were small.
Yeah.
From that chair to the dining table, to the buffet, to the top of the refrigerator, to the table in the kitchen.
It just
And if
made-
there was anything on top of the stove, she'd knock that off. And then go over, get her drink, and lay down to sleep in the sink.
Huh? Yeah.
Nice and cool.
Tired out.
Yeah, so I don't know if you remember about the old program, Lights Out, Inner Sanctum.
I've heard about it, but
Yeah.
I don't remember it.
Put them out, you're going to hear stories, weird stories, stories of the supernatural. So we had all the kids in our little living room. It was big enough for a couch and one chair. So there were people sitting on the couch, and one in the chair, and the rest were on the floor. We were listening to all that.
It was
All
on
of a
the
sudden you
radio?
hear
It was on
Our
the.
refrigerator made a noise when it turned on.
Oh yeah.
And made that noise again when it turned off. And we told them, that's the refrigerator, don't be afraid. Then all of a sudden there's a thump, thump, thump. And we knew what it was. And when that cat hit the keyboard and started up, there was a mad scramble. They were pulling each other back and trying to get out the door. Of course, the door opened inward.
Or the
And we're
ghost
sitting
got
there.
him.
I told them it's nothing. It's a cat. But they wouldn't come over and listen to that program at our house anymore.
I wouldn't either. I don't even like scary stuff. And that was listening on the radio, right?
Yeah, that
Yeah.
Was, you had to use
Gather
your
around- yeah,
imagination.
and
Yeah.
that was the best stuff.
Yeah, and they would come over to the house during this, the nice days. Kids would bring their guitars, and we'd sit there and sing and yak and do that. And one of the neighbors complained about the noise, and my mom said, "You have, all that noise there." My mother said, "I know where my children are. Do you know where yours are?"
Yeah, there you go.
My Uncle Bud played the harmonica.
Oh yeah.
Could he play?
He played the violin. He played the piano.
Oh, I didn't know he played all that.
He could play any instrument he picked up.
I think
He
yes.
told my son the two things you need in life to be a good man: how to play a musical instrument and dance. You'll
Yeah.
have all the women you want.
Well, yeah. Yeah, musical instrument would be good, but some people have it and most people don't.
He would play
It's-
church music.
It's a special thing. When people have it, it's special.
I don't.
Yeah, me neither.
I tried to learn to play the piano. I couldn't.
Yeah, I could tap on a drum a little bit, but it's taken a long time to get that far.
He taught
My other
Sly
friends,
how
they
to
play the piano. It sounded great. I
Yeah.
like plink, plink, plink,
Plink,
plink.
plink. Yeah, same. It's just,
It wasn't the same.
yeah.
Yeah.
Some people are just born with it. It can be learned, but I think the people that are naturals are the ones that you just really go, wow. You know?
We're still recording?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
This is during the war. Mama my mother worked third shift. I worked at the telephone company. And the nights that I cooked, Lizetta washed the dishes. The nights that she cooked, I washed the dishes. Well, I had cooked the night before. And I broiled lamb chops. I'm setting the scene. I'm in the dining room sewing, and my sister's in the kitchen cooking. And she, Louise, come out here. Come on out here. So I went out in the fire. I said, call the fire department. I can get there faster running. So she ran up to the fire department, walked in, calm as a cucumber, and said, I think you better come to my house. And the guy said, yeah, why? She said, my kitchen's on fire. Boom. Where do you live? She said, follow me. She's running down the street. There's a big truck behind her. It didn't have a siren. It had a bell. Clang, 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 you know. It's parked in front of the house. Clang, 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 clang. Now remember, my mother had told me, don't wake me up for anything. So Mom looked out the window and said, what's happening? Well, that fireman went in your house. She came down, opened the door, and grabbed both sides. I thought she was going to faint. You would let the house burn down around me. I said, Mom, you told me not to call you for anything. You're going to let the house? Mom, you don't. You told me not to call you for anything. Well, the fire was in the grease pan where Lizetta hadn't cleaned the grease out.
Oh, no. Oh,
And then
no.
after that, she didn't walk past the fire station anymore because they'd say, hey, Zeddy, make any more biscuits?
Started any
Yes,
fires?
yes.
Okay. Let's see.
Okay, I woke up one morning, my feet were all muddy. And I didn't know how I got them there. I had taken a bath before I went to bed. But you know how mud looks on your feet, that's all dried,
Yeah.
muddy water. So I cleaned my feet and went to work, and a couple nights later, I saw the boy from across the street. And he said, Louise, you walk in your sleep. I said, what do you mean? He said, I was coming home from work, and you were at the streetcar stop, and you'd stepped out in the street, the streetcar was coming, and he said, you were in your nightgown.
Yeah.
And he said, oh, Louise, how nice you came to meet me. And he said, you turned around, walked beside me back to the house, he said, the door was standing open. He said, you went in the house and slammed the door in my face.
Yeah.
That's how I got my muddy feet.
Yeah. Did it happen all the time or just that one time?
No, I guess I've walked several other times.
Oh.
And after Kevin was born, my husband was working second shift. And I got up in the morning and I said, oh, I see you. I was getting up at night and preparing him dinner. And I was absolutely exhausted. Just having a baby and keeping house all day and then getting up in the morning to feed him. I said, oh, did Amanda come over and fix you? He says, you fixed the meal. There was remains of steak and french fries and everything. And I wasn't out of bed last night. He said, well, you was there. You were talking to me. I said, Wally, I wasn't out of bed. You could poison me and I wouldn't know it.
Yeah. You better be careful.
Yeah, so
Better
he says,
get a heavy blanket.
so he says, you're not getting up anymore. So I have stuff ready for him to heat up.
Before he
Yeah.
goes to work.
Yeah.
Yeah, with the technology now, they put cameras in this one guy. His wife sleepwalks a lot, and she does funny stuff in her sleep. So he put cameras all around, and then the next day, sometimes it doesn't happen all the time. They put it all together, and then they put it on this comedy website, and then people say that, and she has no idea she's doing this stuff. She's walking around talking to people, usually cooking. A lot of people cook, and
I often wonder what would have happened if I had gotten on that streetcar.
or if you walked in front of it. I think you knew better than to walk in front of it, but
The streetcar was coming.
Yeah.
And I was stepping out.
and you met someone that you
He was coming home from work.
From work, yeah.
Yeah, he worked at Westinghouse.
Yeah.
It was the kid that lived across the street.
No.
And he realized what was happening. He said, "Oh, Louise, how nice you came out to meet me."
Yeah.
He said, I turned around and went back with him.
Didn't even realize you were asleep. Shut the door.
I did not know how my feet got all wet like that.
Yeah, I'm glad I don't sleepwalk. I talk in my sleep sometimes. People tell me because I don't know.
I know when I was a little kid up in the country, I woke up one morning on the couch in the front room. It was in the wintertime, and the couch, the stove was out, but my dog was laying on top of me.
You had the stove on, or you didn't know? Oh, it was cold.
It was cold, and the dog was laying on top of me to keep me warm.
Oh.
And I don't know how I got down there.
Yeah. Well, be grateful you didn't turn on the stove or something.
Oh no!
Yeah.
You couldn't turn it on. You had to have a fire.
Light and oh, it was like a wood or a coal.
Yeah, we didn't have a furnace or anything. We didn't have gas or light.
For a while,
Yes.
huh?
It was real country, you know.
Wow.
Nobody
You
had
had an outhouse down the hill.
outhouse beside the garage.
Beside the garage. I was in Kansas a couple months ago at a farm, staying there. They let us stay for free, and they had outhouses out there.
Yeah.
And they're still using them.
Yeah.
Yeah. They painted them up real nice, and
Oh, Mom had roses growing all over it and everything.
I said, I think that's an outhouse, and I opened the door. There's toilet paper there. I said, well, they're still using it.
No toilet paper.
Oh.
There's a row of catalogs. When you got to the shiny pages, it looked like this.
Oh no!
Yeah.
I remember those. The
And
shiny. Oh, you didn't want to use the shiny pages.
No, you scrumpled them up.
Okay. They
And who had newspapers?
they had a Folgers can in this one with the toilet paper in the Folgers can, I guess, to keep it dry. But at least they had toilet paper.
Coffee didn't come in cans at that time.
Come in. How'd it come?
It came in bags, and
you had to ground it yourself.
You ground it yourself. And we had a 3-holer, small one, medium, and a big. And my sister was always told, don't sit on the big one. Well, Mom was in the back porch washing, and she heard my sister. She thought she was singing. And she listened a little bit. She said, not singing, she's yelling for me. Well, she went out there, and here's my sister, head, toes, and feet on the big seat. She never went on the big one again.
Yeah. Yeah.
She fell in.
Oh no. Oh no.
She was about to.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, she was stuck there and screaming for Mom.
Oh man. And they had 3 holes.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Little kids,
Little,
children,
medium, and then big.
Yeah, and adults. Okay.
Yeah.
I never thought of that. Boy, you wouldn't want to fall on those.
Oh no. And ours didn't smell because they kept it limed.
Okay. Yeah, they make them now. They use them as compost. They found a way to they have a metal bar in there that mixes it with the compost, and somehow it doesn't smell. So
yeah. No, we were primitive.
A lot of things have changed. A lot of things have changed now.
Yeah.
You know, when you were growing up, there definitely wasn't TVs. There was radios, right? Radios.
They weren't common.
They weren't common. You had to go to someone's house that had a radio.
Yeah.
What about telephones? Not common?
Not common. We lived in a house. Mom was working as a maid there and also as a maid at a tea house. And there was a phone on the wall, and our ring was one short and 2 long. And it was a party line. And I was told never to listen on that phone. But I was very good. And one time I'm in the kitchen, nobody's around, nobody's there. And the phone rang, and I lifted it up. And it was a woman ordering groceries. I never lifted the phone up again.
Yeah, nothing, no big deal.
And when Daddy went fishing, we would stand on the hill out by the road, and there weren't too many cars. And we'd tell him everything was all clear, so he could stick a dynamite and throw it in
And it bursts the air sacs.
axe him.
Yeah.
Then he'd gather them up and put them in a basket and bring them home.
Yeah.
Very illegal.
Yeah, just because the dynamite. I mean,
Yeah.
you gotta get food though, any way you can.
I used to follow him. He knew what to pick in the spring when it was coming up. One of our favorites was dandelion greens, and with the little buds in the middle. Not with the blossom on, just with the
Before
little
they
buds
turn
in.
yellow, right?
Yeah, when they're right down in the
Yeah.
center.
Yeah.
That was the meat. Oh, that was good.
It was good?
Yeah.
Huh. People don't eat that anymore. I don't.
If I can find a field where there's no dogs.
Yeah. Yeah. I like. It's such a delicacy back then for you guys, but.
Yeah, and also they don't have burdock down here. You know what burdock
I never know. I'd have to look it up.
It has big leaves, and it has like a little purple flower on it. But when they first come up, they're curled, and they're called condones. That's what the Italians call them. But the Japanese also eat the root, and that is very good.
Cadoons. Yeah, I haven't heard of those either. The dandelions are making a comeback because they have the milk in them.
Yeah.
And people use the milk for medicinal stuff now.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, they're just figuring it out because I guess that was lost to the Native Americans and stuff.
Yeah.
You know, they didn't give us all their secrets. And
Well, my father was always looking for ginseng.
yeah, that's good too.
Yeah, but that takes a special cool place to grow, and our woods was too friendly.
Too
But-
hot too, maybe.
He would go out, he knew what to pick in the spring, so we'd have greens to eat. And the only thing I can remember is watercress in the stream.
Watercress, yes.
Yeah, that was
that's
really
real
good.
popular too now.
Yeah, but the burdock with the little curls as the leaves come up,
Yeah.
you clip them off and cook that. That's really good.
We've been traveling across the country. We stopped, I think it was in Virginia, maybe close to Washington, D.C. There was it was Colonial Williamsburg. We were up in Williamsburg, and they had a stream going next to the thing and a mound, and you would go in I guess in the winter, they'd get the ice from the stream, the top, and they'd store it in there, and it would last all summer.
Yeah, they're ice houses.
Yeah, and it would last until the summer. They'd have ice cubes in their drinks.
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought that was amazing that ice would last a whole season.
Yeah.
Wow.
Well, if
Or
it got
3
thick,
seasons.
if it got thick enough.
Yeah, they would cut it out of the river or stream. It wasn't a very big river. Actually, it was kind of maybe 20 feet across. So it'd probably give you some good ice. But I mean, I couldn't imagine. I guess if you were kind of royalty, you would get ice in your drinks. You know.
Well, a lot of the big farmers they built it into a side of a hill.
Yeah, this was built in the side of a hill, huge, and I imagine they probably had a bunch of ice and a lot of it melted. But what they were able to keep around.
Well, they put straw in between the layers.
Yeah, hay and straw and
Yeah.
insulation.
Yeah.
Yeah, you didn't have a refrigerator until
What
the
you had
50s or 60s.
What you had for lunch, you had for supper, and hopefully it was still good for breakfast.
They were interviewing someone on, doing what we're doing now. And he said during the Great Depression for a year and a half, all they ate was potatoes.
Yeah.
Potatoes for a year and a half.
Well, as long as we were in the country, we had food.
Okay.
We had a barn. The man on the hill didn't have a barn. So he kept his cows in our barn, and he paid us in milk.
So you got milk.
And I learned how to milk a cow.
Okay.
I could milk this cow, the second cow. When I went to the third cow, they put their butts together.
To keep you away from it?
Cows, I couldn't get out.
Huh.
Cows have a sense of humor.
Yeah, yeah.
But anyhow, Mama put milk in bowls, and it would solidify overnight. We called it clobbered milk.
Huh.
We'd sprinkle a little sugar on it in the morning and have breakfast.
Huh. It was cold, or it was just
It sat out on the kitchen
set out.
table.
Huh.
Sat on the kitchen table.
Huh. Well, it's like yogurt then, I guess.
I don't know what it was.
Yeah, it'd probably be similar to like a yogurt.
Well, we called it clobbered milk.
Clobbered milk. Huh.
Yeah. And the buttermilk that came from when you churn butter.
Yeah.
Yeah, that takes a knack.
Churning the butter.
You're going too fast.
Oh.
And that buttermilk is really good, not like what you get today.
Yeah.
It has the milk that's where the butter has,
Congealed or
Covered.
what? Yeah.
Coagulated.
Coagulated,
Yeah.
clumped together.
Hey, Dusty.
Oh, Dusty worked last night, so he's sleeping.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
She's gonna make him get up. We're gonna go at 3 instead, so we'll leave at 2:30.
What are we having lunch soon?
Dusty.
I'm gonna turn this off.
Tell that again. Ready? Go.
Go.
We were coming home from church, and on Sunday you got a pass for, I don't know what it was, but 2 people could ride on it, or an adult and 2 children. And Mom was sending me home with the kids, and she and Dad were gonna walk. And she sent Victor out to me, and where you waited for the streetcar was out in the street. There was an island there. They had stanchions, so you'd stand between the stanchions and the streetcar tracks. And Vic, instead of waiting for the light, started right out in this car. He was stopping. He wasn't going fast. And bumped him, and Vic came crawling out from underneath the car.
And got a radio out of it.
Yeah, all he wanted was a radio.
Well, who got hit? And it was the dentist?
Oh,
Didn't
no,
hit him?
that was Lizetta that got hit.
All
running
right,
up.
tell about Lizetta's getting hit by the car.
Yeah, I forgot all about that.
There's a pattern here.
Yeah.
Tell about it. What happened with Lizetta?
We were living on 40th Street in Cleveland, and Lizetta came running out into the street and got hit by an automobile. And my dad was going to sue, and my mother said, absolutely not. Said that was not that man's fault. Just happens he was a dentist, and because she didn't sue, we got free dental care. And saved my back teeth.
Yeah. Yeah.
They still have the original fillings in.
Wow.
And they were just shells.
Yeah.
Wow.
He put a temporary filling in the middle and then the silver on the outside.
Oh.
They did it to last.
The last-
Yeah.
So
The last
in your
time-
98 years
Yeah, and
today,
pardon?
how many teeth have you lost in your 98 years?
Only my baby teeth.
Only your
Wow.
baby teeth. You have every one
Every-
of your
Wow.
adult teeth at 98 years old.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
They're not the prettiest teeth, but they're mine.
Yeah.
The last, I think I was 21 or 22 the last time he did a filling on my teeth.
Wow.
Wow.
What's the
Amazing.
secret? You brush your teeth before bed and brush your teeth in the morning.
Well, I try and brush them more often than that.
Okay. At least. There was a guy that they interviewed for TikTok. And I think I told you, he was eating, they ate potatoes for a year, nothing but potatoes. I guess they put them in a pan and fry
And
them.
it looks
Yeah.
good.
But you
Look,
lived
we have
on a,
strawberry one
you lived on a
downstairs
field,
to eat, too.
or in the country, kind of, right?
But we had vegetables and everything in the
Yeah,
country.
yeah, you could grow your own.
But we didn't have much meat.
Mhm.
But there was a boy, Clifford. I can't remember his last name.
Are
He
we
li-
recording?
Mhm.
Go ahead.
He liked to hunt. And his folks said, don't bring anything more home to us. So he asked my mother if she would like a rabbit. And you got it, yeah, he'll take it. Well, then he came up with a woodchuck. Yeah, we'll take it. So after that, he kept us supplied with rabbits and woodchuck.
For free?
Yeah,
Just because he liked to hunt.
he
Okay.
liked to hunt.
I saw a woodchuck for the first time the other day. They're about this tall. They're huge.
What eyes were you looking through?
No, it was a woodchuck. What's another word for him?
Groundhog.
Groundhog.
Or
It-
whistle pig.
It was about this tall. It was
Standing up.
standing up, eating. And we were passing by it
Yeah.
on the road, and we said, "What is that?" And my wife had to look it up because we'd never seen something
Yeah, they stand up about that tall.
that's pretty big. The biggest we get are about that tall. They're squirrels. The squirrels will get about that tall.
Yeah.
But
Not around here. They have awfully small. Well,
you guys have little tiny ones around here.
yeah. And I noticed the ones up in Ohio are getting smaller.
Little tails. I think they're chipmunks, though, are they?
No.
Or no?
Chipmunks are brown with little black and white stripes.
Chipmunks are about
Oh,
that
Oh,
big.
okay. Because the ones I saw here have little tiny tails. and that's why we thought they were chipmunks.
No,
But
there's two different kinds of squirrels that we have. Some of them have like a skinny tail and some have a bigger tail.
Yeah.
Do they have white on the back of their tail?
I saw a bald eagle too in
I saw
Texas.
the tail.
Well, we
and the
had them
bunny
in
going
Ohio, too.
under the
Yeah,
garden.
they're big. This was
Oh,
about
yeah.
that tall.
Have one fly over your head.
I had oh, go ahead.
Dorothy and I were standing on the bridge over Tinker's Creek. We're standing there, and all of a sudden, swooping down, it was a blue heron. I thought it was pterodactyl.
Ah!
That thing, its wingspread was
Yeah,
huge,
yeah, as long as my arms, probably. Yeah,
right down over the top.
yeah. I
Never a sound, you know.
Yeah, they're doing a thing now, and they're getting it on video. That they're out on the boats, and they'll throw a big fish up, and the eagle will come and grab that fish
Oh, yeah.
out of the sky.
And they always grab them facing forward.
Ah, so these things are big. They
Yeah.
one time I was on a hike up at the top of Pinnacles National Forest in California. It was about 4,000 feet up. I got all the way to the top. I was so proud of myself. And a turkey vulture came, and we were looking for
A turkey?
turkey vulture. They're almost the same as we were actually up there looking for. It wasn't vultures.
They're about the same size as an eagle, or maybe a little bit bigger.
Little bit, yeah, about the same size as an eagle. But the turkey vulture, you guys have black vultures here.
Yeah.
Turkey vultures have a red head, like an ugly turkey
Yeah,
head.
I've seen them.
And this thing got about, it flew up and it just coasted, and it got about 10 feet from me, you know, maybe from here to that fan over there, and it looked me right in the eyes. It just looked me right in the eyes.
I had one come, I lived on the 3rd floor, and I was out on my balcony, and one came by. They got orange eyes.
Yeah, and they'll look you right in your
Right
eyes
in
and
it. He
fly
turned
right by.
Looked right at me.
Yeah, yeah, it was,
And then-
I considered it an honor. I was
Yeah, and then after I went down, I found a feather.
Yeah, I guess I put my tennies on for that place.
You know, my ankles are starting to hurt, so that means I don't have.
I danced with the Indians for about 20 years.
Oh.
Ugly one, okay.
She was telling me about it. Native American funeral, Indian funeral she went to for someone. I forget.
My mother.
Yeah. And then it was your mother.
Yeah.
She had a real Native American funeral. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's
I would
amazing.
like to have one too, but I can't find a shaman to do it.
Well, maybe someone else can find one.
When
I'm
they-
sure we
when
can
they-
find one if you really want one.
Yeah, when they came back to the church,
Okay.
you should hear them talking about it.
Yeah. Yeah, she told me about it the other day. She
Yeah.
said it was beautiful.
Yeah.
Yeah. They still keep the tradition alive. When we were going through New Mexico, there was a lot of places that still came every year and did the powwow.
Yeah. Oh,
And-
yeah.
yeah.
We gave a lot of powwows.
Yeah.
I had an Indian girl come up to me one time and she said, "You don't know who you are." I said, "Beg your pardon?" He said, "You wear so many dresses." I said, "Honey, I know exactly who I am." I said, "If I have a Sioux dress on, I'm dancing to honor the Sioux Nation. If I have a cut ribbon dress on, depending what style I have, I'm either honoring the Potawatomi or I'm honoring the Sackatoon." I said, "If I wear Navajo, I'm honoring the Navajo." She said, "Oh, I didn't understand that." And I've had a Native American Indian come up to me and she said, "You dance with the right spirit."
Nice. Yeah, my grandmother, Olima Duncan, she would tell me all through the years she was Native American, and I never believed her, and because I just couldn't see, I didn't see it. And then we got her a DNA test. You know what those are, where they test your
Yeah.
ancestry, and she, sure enough, she's Native American. So I didn't give her.
What nation was she from? Did they
I'm
say?
not sure. I could almost look it up and find out. I don't know. So they don't, the Native Americans don't really work with the DNA people anymore because they were stealing their information
Yeah.
and using it for stuff they didn't approve of.
Right.
So it's hard to find out like where exactly it is, but they know that she has a percentage. I have a small percentage of sub-Saharan African in mine,
Uh-huh.
and then there's Asian descent, and then what I've seen at least is Asian, and then there's the Native American. And sure enough,
I'm Dutch and German.
I'm Irish, and I got the DNA test too. I'm Irish and British.
Yeah, my mother's people came from Holland. My great-grandfather worked for the Queen.
Wow.
He was a gardener for the Queen at that time.
Your great grandfather.
My great-grandfather, yeah. Because my grandfather came here when he was 2.
Okay.
So it had to be my great-grandfather.
So when do you think that was? 18.
Oh, my grandfather was born in 1870. Oh, heck, I knew. 1872, I think.
And they came here at 1874 then, maybe, or
Well, he's
1870.
about 2 years old when he came.
Okay.
Yeah.
So in the 1870s they came
Yeah.
here.
Ella Ground was born in 1877, and she was one of the first children to go to Carlisle Indian School. And while they were at breakfast one day, a whisper went through, Geronimo's here. He was a captive of the United States Army
Yeah.
on his way to Washington. And he wanted to see what the children were eating by the school, and they brought him in. He was in shackles,
Yeah.
and he talked to the children. And he looked at the plates and said, "That's not good. They need food. They need meat." They were eating oatmeal.
Oh, well, I've been seeing a lot of stories, especially the further west we went. It seems like the atrocities were worse out there.
Oh yes,
And
there was a bounty on one time
on who?
on the Indians.
Oh yeah. I was in by Klamath Falls, Oregon. They had the Modoc War. It was 55 Indians against 1,100 men.
Yeah.
And they wound up. They survived, and one of his own people. They were about to get killed. One of his own people turned him in, and they fought though. They fought, and one of the things I learned, they would scalp. The Indians would scalp the Americans.
Yeah.
And the one guy that survived was bald. They
Yeah.
couldn't scalp him, so he survived because
Yeah.
he
Oh,
didn't
yeah,
have no
no.
hair to
A
take.
lot of them did.
Yeah, but they would
But
take the
It would never heal.
no, and they die. Everybody died except that guy, and they said the reason he survived because he was bald. I said, well, that's one good reason. You know, I don't feel so bad about being bald now.
Yeah. Yeah, Ella Ground. I just love that lady. She was a Mohawk from the Iroquois Reservation. She
Just a
was
friend of the family.
based in New York.
Okay, Ella
Ground.
Ground.
Her
Okay.
husband was Harrison Ground. He was
Ella Ground. Okay.
he was a medicine man.
Oh.
And when they came to Cleveland, they either stayed with Sid and Sally, or they stayed at my house. And he was staying with Sid one time, and they lived down the hill from me. And Sid had this terrible cold, and Harrison said, "Brother Sid, why do you suffer when the cure is out in your backyard?" And he said, "Brother Harrison, I wouldn't know what to take." And Harrison said, "If I prepare it, will you take it?" He said, "Yes." So he went out and gathered whatever it was in the backyard, cooked it up and did whatever he had to it,
Yeah.
and gave it to Sid to drink. And Sid said when he drank it, the top of his head blew off. Everything gushed out
Yeah.
over, just like that.
Wow. Yeah, we need that back.
And
we need that
he
information.
said, "Have you told people about it?" He said, "They won't believe me."
No.
It died with him.
Yeah, unfortunately.
I was reading the book, The Frontiersman.
Mm-hmm.
Now this is about a lot about Tecumseh and about the Simon Butler.
I've heard of him. Yeah.
Yeah, well, that wasn't his real name.
Okay.
When he was about 18, he was in love with a girl, and she was getting married, and he attacked the groom during the wedding. And he thought he had killed him, and the groom thought he had killed Butler. And Butler ran, and he finally took the name of Butler for somebody he saw.
Oh.
And then he grew up to be a terror on the frontier.
Okay.
But the Indians revered him. Yeah, he was really well known. You don't want to go with Butler.
Okay.
Butler,
But he was running because of something he did and had to take someone's name.
Yeah.
And
But he lived with the Indians a long time.
yeah.
But there were 3 different places that were called Chillicothe, but they don't know which one that Tecumseh lived at.
Oh.
But he was put off his farm, his land, and I don't know if he had a farm or what, but he went back to see how the man was doing it, and found out that he was preserving the land, not destroying it the way a lot of people did. And he got very good friends with him. And his daughter taught Tecumseh how to read and write. And they fell in love, but she couldn't live with the Indians and he couldn't live on the farm. And he had built her a canoe and showed her how to drive it or operate it.
Yeah.
And he said they were out one time and she pointed to a tree and said it was a beautiful tree, it was in blossom and everything. And he said, I wish you hadn't asked me about that. And he said, I will tell you, but you have to promise not to tell anybody else. I don't know what part of the tree they took, but they made a concoction from it. And each one of the men went to war. If they were injured and in pain, they took that and felt no pain. Well, she told her father, and his brother was a pharmacist. They brewed it up and said, no, we will not tell anyone about it because it can be used wrong.
Oh.
And that's the same thing that Tecumseh said.
Huh.
So out there in Ohio is a tree that has the power to heal pain.
Huh.
Or kill pain.
Yeah, where you can't feel pain.
Yeah. And they have found out that the bark of the dogwood tree has a substance like quinine. And that's good for malaria.
Huh. We get everything from plants.
Yeah.
You know, even the medicines we have now are derived from plants.
Oh, yeah.
But
The aspirin comes from the black willow.
yeah, willow bark.
Yeah.
Mimosa. You can get stuff from mimosa trees.
Yeah.
Thankfully, I don't get sick too often, so I stay pretty, thankfully, I stay pretty healthy. When I take something, I took a Tylenol yesterday because of my back, but it's probably been 2 years since I've had to take a Tylenol.
I only take one medication prescribed, a very low dose for high blood pressure.
Okay. Yeah.
And this morning I got up, my blood pressure was 128/80. I didn't take the pill because it would drop like that.
Yeah.
And then I wouldn't be able to move.
Yeah, well, you're doing good, It's amazing. Very grateful. I'm glad, we're getting to hang out and talk.
Yeah.
Lots of good stuff.
Mom wanted to move, was from Grand Rapids, Michigan, and she wanted to know if there's any work up there. I said, well, Mom, I can transfer up there with a telephone company, have my job and keep my seniority, but I have to stay a year. So I went to visit my grandfather, and he started in on my dad. I have never talked back to an adult. My knees were shaking so bad. I said, Grandpa, you can't tell me a thing about my dad that I don't know. I said, he's not here to defend himself. He's gone. I know his faults, and I love him dearly.
Yeah.
But he's not here, so I'll defend him. I said, I know it's good.
Hummingbird.
Hello, birdie. Hello, birdie. Check it out. What are y'all doing in there?
You want to come in and hang out?
He sees your red shirt.
Yeah.
Well, he's trying to get the red on that alarm system sign.
I didn't tell him that I remembered when we were living in the country. He was on one side of the table. My dad was on the other side of the table, and they're both of them drunk and they're cussing each other out. But I didn't tell him that. So he's not here to defend himself, but I am. I say, he's my dad. I know his faults, but I still love him. And little grandma says, well, she told you, John. And I thought, boy, he's never going to talk to me again. So a couple of weeks later, I was there, and it was on a Sunday, and I said, well, I better get home and write some letters. Who are you writing letters to? Boys overseas. You're writing to more than one boy? I said, well, yeah. I said, what's a girl supposed to do? She's marry the boy, live across the street from the old folks. I said, yeah, that's as far as she can think. I said, Grandpa, these are boys I grew up with, I went to school with, I went to church with. They're overseas fighting. And if my love are going to perk them up and help them. It's up to me to write to them.
Yeah.
And she says, she told you again, John. And I thought, oh boy, he's really, he's not going to like me. He's like, so he came down to visit Mom, and he says, you know, I like that Louise. She's got spunk. I'm the only one in the family who ever stood up to him.
Yeah.
Everybody was yes, God, no pa.
Yeah.
Yes, pa.
She's got spunk. I like her. I don't know why, but I like her.
Okay.
Yeah, we did.
I'm so full.
Girl of the Limberlost.
Hey.
All I could remember was butterflies and moths, and she gave her lunch to a kid on the bridge. That's the only thing I could remember about it. Well, my ladies at the library
Yeah.
went out of their way and found the book audio
Oh, the audio book.
of Girl of the Limberlost. It was written by Jane Stratton Porter. She died in 1924.
Wow.
She was a big writer at that time. And I got to listen to it again, and I found out where the Limberlost is.
Where is it?
Yeah, it's a big swamp
Okay.
by Geneva, Indiana.
Okay. Wow.
Yeah, it's northern
Yeah.
Indiana.
And it was a children's book, I guess.
No, it was a
an
novel.
adult's book, a novel. Okay.
Yeah, I grew up on Shakespeare, the
Yeah.
Bible, the Brothers Grimm, Hans Christian Andersen, and any novel that happened to be out at the time.
No. I like to read too. I just haven't had.
But every night after the kids went to bed, she'd read to Mother and I.
Yeah. Yeah, I wish I would have got more into reading. I got a lot into video games, so.
Well, I get them on audio.
Yeah, now, yeah.
And I creating and knitting like crazy.
I tried that, and the problem is if I missed something, it took me too long to go back to find it. Because I'll miss, I'll go, who's Frank? You know, where did Frank come from? And on a book, I just turn back and I can scan and find out, oh, that's Frank, you know, because my mind wanders.
Yeah.
But with the audiobooks,
Oh, I'm stuck there.
yeah, you can focus. You have good focus. I don't have great focus, so I don't, you know, it's weird is I can watch a movie, and it'd be the best movie ever, and someone can ask me later about it, and I don't remember anything about the movie. I know it was good, but I couldn't tell you, you know, who was in it. I don't know.
I don't remember. I don't know the actors of this era.
Oh, me? I don't know the actors.
But they needed blankets, not blankets, but little things for the babies to go home in. And sometimes the babies died and they couldn't find any clothes. Well, the women couldn't think of babies dying.
Yeah.
So I started making funerary dresses for them. Made them real pretty with little flowers on them and everything.
Yeah.
And then I made little kimonos out of flannel.
The fabric, yeah.
Yeah, and then I had my sewing machine had two needles. I could work with two colors at one time. And I just went with a little zigzag around.
Little red and blue,
Yeah,
yeah.
down around, you know, up and around the neck.
Yeah.
And we started making things like that. So we branched out. We were making lap robes for the guys at the VA hospital. Well, I took them in one day, and here's this room, three sides of the room stacked up to the roof, to the ceiling, with robes that had never been given out. Well, for 12 years, I went with the chaplain from the VFW
Yeah.
out to the hospital to serve coffee and donuts to the guys. Well, I see these guys just coming in wheelchairs and their feet there. Well, the next week they'd have socks or slippers. My girlfriend made slippers real cool. Or we'd bring in blankets and give it over their laps. So for 12 years we served coffee and donuts to them. And I wasn't supposed to really talk to them. I wasn't supposed to touch them. I wasn't supposed to get involved with them.
Yeah.
And I came in one day, and here's this man in trouble. And I went up to him and I said, if anybody needed a hug, you do. He latched onto me, and I thought he was dead. Okay, what have I done? And then he relaxed, and there was a horrible expression on his face.
Yeah.
Flashback.
Yeah.
So before we left, he came up and he said, Louise, you have no idea what that hug makes to me. He said, he was head man, point man. Never saw the trip light. And lost a lot of his men.
Yeah.
And then his one daughter was badly beaten, badly raped, and murdered. And he said, it just all came out on me at one time. And I thought, this is baloney. I told the guys that when we started, they said, what do we call you? I said, call me Grandma. I said, you could be my grandsons. So call me Grandma.
Yeah.
And I found out how they liked their coffee, what they liked, and if they needed a hug, my gosh, they got a hug.
And they probably needed a hug.
Yeah.
You know,
a lot of them.
they didn't used to talk about that stuff.
No.
You know, and then they held it inside. So yeah.
But they didn't have to talk. You could tell when they.
Oh yeah, my dad is he has really bad PTSD, and he's in the VFW now, but it was too much for him.
Yeah, well, most of these were recovering from drugs. Alcohol mainly.
Yeah, alcohol. Yeah, my dad never got into that, but he's had really bad PTSD his whole life, and
yeah,
he's really in the church now, but you can still tell, you know, he needs some help.
Yeah.
But he.
And if the guy had a bald head in a wheelchair, we come and kiss the top of his head.
Oh.
And then after I resigned from being a hospital chairman for the auxiliary, the girl that took it said, what did you do to those guys? I said, they didn't do nothing. Why? I want to know where you are. I said, just tell them that I had to retire.
Oh.
But they would get them and bring them up from Cleveland to the Golden Corral or something like that. You know,
for lunch or dinner.
Oh, but did I get the hugs?
Yeah.
I love those guys. They were all my kids.
Yeah, they're good people. I haven't really met, you know, I get along with anybody, you know. I haven't really met. I mean, there's bad people. I guess I steer clear. You know, the bad ones. Stay away from them. But everybody else. I read a quote a couple months ago. It helped me out a lot. And it's a quote from, I can't remember the person. I wish I could remember the person. There are no bad people, just people doing their best.
Yeah.
You know, and then I thought, well, yeah, you know, I'm sure there are bad people, but the
there
way
are.
I relate it is like, not everybody's gonna be able to, you know, to have the manners that some people have, or have the kindness that some people have. So they're doing their best.
The opportunity to
Learn it. So they're doing their best. So if someone's not living up to your standards,
Yeah.
you know, give them a break, and then you understand. You
Yeah,
know?
my mother had a rooming house, and most of her people were from the railroad. We lived right at the roundhouse.
What year? Around what year you think?
Oh, this back in the 40s.
40s. Okay.
Yeah, I was still a kid.
Yeah.
Young. I was before 18, but before 21, you know.
Okay.
And they had a dormitory upstairs. I think they had 5 beds in the dormitory and a little bitty room that had another one in it. And they'd call down from the MBA, see if mom had an empty room. They were just overnight guys.
Yeah.
So this one night, I was finding flowers on my dresser. I don't like that.
Yeah.
So I threw them out. And one night, I opened my eyes and my bedroom door was closing. I thought, okay, I'm hallucinating. Went back to sleep a little bit later. My door's closing. What the heck's going on? Pretty soon somebody's coming over my bed. And I'm up on this side. I didn't scream.
Yeah.
And he said, give me a little. I said, get out of here. He said, give me a little. I said, if you don't get out of here, I'm going to start screaming. And if I start screaming, you're going to be in real trouble.
Yeah.
So I didn't get out of here before I started screaming.
Yeah.
So I told my brother.
You knew who it was?
Oh yeah, I know
Oh,
who it was.
wow. Oh.
I told my brother about it.
Yeah.
And the next morning when he came home from work, I told him. He went up, they got the guy,
Yeah.
roughed him up a little bit,
Yeah.
and then told him, you ever come back to these corners again, you're a dead man. Well, I'll tell you, the mafia was on the corners. They protected the women.
Yeah.
And I could walk down the street no matter 1 o'clock in the morning. And I knew there were eyes on me, watching me till I got home. I knew it.
Yeah. Yeah. People cared about you. Yeah.
But he got
That
the
was
shot.
90 years ago. You know, that was 80 years ago.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow.
During the war, it was completely different. Completely different.
Yeah.
Especially in the downtown area. If you were in a restaurant and you were sitting at a table for 4 and there's only 2 of you, you know, 2 more people are going to
Come and sit up with you. Yeah.
If you were getting a taxi cab, you never went one way with just one person in the cab. You waited till you had 2 or 3 going the same direction to save gasoline.
That's smart.
Yeah.
They should do that now. I've been saying that lately. Like,
Absolutely.
you know, with the pollution we have, we have the technology to match people up, go in the same direction. You know.
And we had the Army, the Navy, the Air Force, Australians.
Yeah.
They come waltzing Matilda down the road. It was,
Australians are good. I like them.
oh,
They're
they'd wait,
funny.
they would wait outside the telephone company and say, "Would you please come and have a cup of coffee with me?" Never by ourselves.
Yeah.
We go across the street to the little restaurant across the street and have coffee.
Yeah.
Oh, can we walk you home? My mother would kill you. Can I walk you at least to the bus stop? Yeah, you can walk me to the bus stop. You sure I can't come with you? No.
And back then, that was a big deal. That was a big deal.
And you could tell who was from the country. They had such a vacant, I don't know, a lost expression on their face. These kids out in the country never been in the city before. If they're going into a movie, we say, "Come on, sit with us." Never by yourself. Always with 2 or 3 other girls.
Oh. So, yeah.
Never ever like
Yeah,
that.
imagine you come from the country, you've never seen a building over 2 stories,
Yeah,
and then you go and 40 stories tall.
57, I think, is on the building.
Yeah.
They have it taller than that now. But the terminal was just being finished when we moved there in 33.
I was just on the phone with my friend in Cleveland, and I was telling her about you, and she's like, "Oh, that's awesome," you know. You know about the terminal building, the terminal
Terminal tower.
tower. She said not building, tower, and then the flats and the arcade. The flats were there, the arcade.
Yeah.
I have a picture, but I'll show you
The
later.
telephone company is no longer a telephone company, it's a new building.
Yeah.
Last time I was down there.
Yeah.
The terminal and the telephone company are the 2 tallest buildings in town.
They built another one recently that looks kind of like the terminal. It's got that style, that older Art Deco, but I guess it's new. I learned something about Winston-Salem, North Carolina, where Tammy's from. They have a building there that was built before the Empire State Building that they copied and made the top of the Empire State Building. So in Winston-Salem is the exact, top of the Empire State Building. I thought that was really cool. And the bottom of the Empire State Building they copied from another building. But that was neat. Winston-Salem was pretty cool. It was a little hot, but it's the summer. What do you expect?
Yeah, I've been down there. I love the big coffee pot that they have down there.
The big silver pot, yeah. I haven't seen it, but I've seen it on the as places to go.
There was a movie Written on the Wind a long time ago about, it was either a murder or an accident that took place around Winston-Salem on a lake. Somebody was killed accidentally or something. I can't remember the whole thing. It was called Written on the Wind.
Written on the Wind. I can look it up. I'm gonna have to run downstairs. I'll be back in a few minutes.
Okay, it was Sunday afternoon, and my Aunt S, we lived with her for a long time before we moved down to Minnie. Well, she had 2 children, a boy and a girl, that lived with her from West Virginia. And we were up on a Sunday afternoon, we were sitting on the front porch. They played a guitar, we were singing and everything. We decided to go for a walk. Well, we walked up by the junior high school, and he was getting just a little touchy.
Ah, okay, yeah.
Yeah,
Mhm.
he was getting that little bit.
Yeah, creepy, a little creepy.
Yeah. And I thought, okay, what am I going to do? And I saw a guy dump up some ice. And I said, I wouldn't fool with me if I were you. I'm a conjure woman. And I said, if you don't believe me, I'll turn some of those stones to ice. And I went, be ice. I got up there and drew ice. I saw the guy
Yeah,
dump
you saw it dump it, and he's like,
yeah. Wow, he'd left me
yeah.
by the park. I was scared to death.
Now you're scared to death.
It was in daylight.
Yeah.
But girls didn't walk in that park.
But-
I crossed the street and walked over till I got to the main street and walked back home.
Christ scared him a little too bad. He just ran off and left you.
I told him I was a con, and then he would see me and he'd
Yeah.
cross the street.
And they knew what conjurers were because they read it in the books.
Fortune sing and some of the kids, of the boys had beautiful voices. And men down the street, we got loud at times. Come over and complain to my mother about the kids being noisy. She said, well, I know where my children are. Do you know where yours are?
Yeah, yeah. Well, that was a big thing back in the
Ravine, and there was a river down at the bottom, and we had a flood. And a man in the condo next to us found a baby thing by the water. And he waited 3 days for the mother to come back, but it didn't come back. So he took the deer and raised it. He should have taken it up to the wildlife preserve.
Yeah.
But he raised that deer, and it was the friendliest little thing you ever laid eyes on. And I had bird feed him in here, and it was following me. I didn't know, because I couldn't hear its feet on the tarmac. And I was going up to the laundromat, and as I turned, she was standing there.
Yeah.
And I said, my goodness, what are you doing here? You're going to get hurt. And she came up, put her face right on my face, and kissed me on my nose.
Oh. She said, now give me some of that bird feed.
But I didn't. And she kind of snuffed, so I
Yeah.
snuffed back at her.
Huh.
And that's the last time I saw her. She was a pretty thing. You could put your arms around her neck and everything, you know.
She had the little white spots.
No.
No spots?
They were gone.
Oh, that's right. When they get older, they
Disappeared.
Ah.
But I don't know what happened to her. I hope that...
That's a beautiful deer, but when they run out in front of your car,
I
or they
am
eat
not
up your
gonna tell her.
garden,
I did not
or,
inherit
I hit one. My car was 2
I
months
did
old.
not inherit that
And
talent.
that's what we're shooting for, right?
150.
100 at least. All right, you ready?
All right.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Louise. Happy birthday to you and many more. Big wish, big wish, big wish, big wish. And she huffed and she puffed and she blew. Yay! Yeah, see what happened.
Oh, turn it around, look at the flowers.